This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of January 4th to January 31st, 2025.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Wendy Hembrock.
I'm Brent Barrett.
And I'm Kevin Batchelder.
And welcome to show number 666. Ready for some devilish fun.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not ominous.
Hopefully. So we appreciate your patience as we've had a little bit of a hiatus between now and our last show. But the show off for 2024 is still going strong. This is our listener polling series to determine the best genre shows of 2024. And the first round is over, but be sure to come on over to the Discord and cast your votes in the second round. And results will be coming in a future show.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to put together this list. I asked listeners on Discord to help me make sure the list was complete, and it looks like we're going into a pretty exciting second round. So it'd be nice to get to the final answer and share with you guys like the top 10. But we will post all of them, every show how it ranked. But we'll probably talk about the top 10 on the episode on the podcast at some point.
Yeah, I don't recall in previous years having a situation, at least for me this year so far, or at least through round one. It seemed like either I had like multiple ones I wanted to pick, or I had none of them that I wanted to pick. So it made choices either very easy or very difficult.
Yeah, this format did create something similar for me as well. In the past, it was sort of head-to-heads, and it was like, oh, I want to choose both. Now you can, but then it kind of dilutes your vote when you do. If you haven't joined our Discord, now is the perfect time to do so you can get in on the fun. And also encourage you to share it with friends and family who might also want to get in on voting as well. So let's get going in the water cooler.
Hello, this is Daryl from the Fringe Podcast. Fringe fans have asked us many times to create a rewatch podcast. That time has finally arrived. I'm excited to announce the Fringe Podcast Rewatch. Of course, I won't be podcasting alone. Hey, you're not Clint. You're Chris.
Well, Clint is tied up doing sciencey things right now, so he's not able to join us. But don't worry, he'll hop in from time to time to share some great insights with us.
I can't think of any other person I'd rather have by my side than you, Chris. So what is the Fringe Podcast Rewatch?
The Fringe Podcast Rewatch is a podcast for Fringe fans who have already watched the series at least once. Starting Wednesday, May 18th, we'll rewatch one episode of Fringe, then the following Wednesday, we'll record a podcast episode covering that Fringe episode. We'll repeat this pattern until we've rewatched all 100 episodes of the show. Check out fringerewatch.com for more info.
And stay Fringe-tastic.
First up are the quick reviews for shows we think you should watch now, watch soon, let sit, or skip. And we're covering a bunch of weeks from January 4th to February 1st. First up is Skeleton Crew, Season 1, Episode 7. We're going to be in so much trouble. And Episode 8, The Real Good Guys, which was the season finale. I really enjoyed these. I would go very high watch it soon for both.
Oh, I really enjoyed them too. I'm going to go low watch it now for the next to last, and go with the regular old watch it now for the finale.
Yeah, and I finally got a chance to catch up after hearing a lot of you talk about it. So I did see these. It didn't really click with me. It was okay. So I enjoyed it, but I'd probably just say I'll watch it soon for me.
Okay, moving on to Silo. Season 2, Episode 9, The Safeguard, and Season 2, Episode 10, Into the Fire, which was the season finale. Both of these I would give a low watch it now.
I am not currently watching Silo.
Neither am I.
And I'll talk about those, not a lot of details, but in the back porch. We also had the return of Harley Quinn for Season 5, and we had 3 episodes. Episode 1, The Big Apricot. Episode 2, Back to School. And Episode 3, I don't have the title. Sorry. I would give these all a watch it soon.
I give the first one a watch it soon, and then a watch it soon, a high end watch it soon, and then the last one a low watch it now. I think it just got better and better. I'm loving me some Harley and Ivy again.
Haven't seen these yet.
And we had the return of Ghosts for the back half of season 4 with episode 10, The Not So Silent Partner. I would give it a high watch it soon.
I'd give it a watch it soon.
Yep, solid watch it soon for me.
And we had the premiere of Paradise, season 1, episode 1. Wildcat is Down, episode 2, Sonata, and episode 3, The Architect of Social Well-Being. I have not seen these yet.
Kevin mentioned this to me, and so I went ahead and checked it out and watched the first 3 episodes. And he's not going to like my quick review because I think I'm done with the show. I'm going to give it a skip. To me, it was very slow, very boring.
Yeah, I am not surprised. I'll talk a little more in the back porch, and I'm sure Brent will chime in, having seen these. But this one is definitely an acquired taste since the genre aspect is very, very much in the background. But I kind of like the characters and the actors, so, I'd say it's a low to mid watch it soon so far for me. Nothing special.
We also had on streaming on Paramount Plus the Star Trek movie, Star Trek Section 31. I would give it a low watch it soon.
Good popcorn entertainment, but I wouldn't watch it again. I'd say low watch it soon.
Yeah, being generous, it would be a low watch it soon, having higher hopes that did not pan out.
Yeah, great character. Not such a great movie. So let's head on over now to news. And we didn't get any feedback, so it's just news. Kevin is going to start, and we're going to start with kind of maybe the disappointing news.
Yeah, maybe disappointing, but certainly I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. And that's the fact that Netflix has announced that they've officially canceled The Sandman, Neil Gaiman's The Sandman show. We still have season 2 to come. But that will be the final season. And again, based on what's happened with him and all going on around that, very much not a surprise, but it has been at least officially announced now, while there was a lot of speculation that would be the case.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think I'm the only one who watched season 1, and I really liked the original comic series. I found it very slow, very beautiful, but slow. So I'm not surprised, especially given some of his unrelated to the show issues as the showrunner.
Yeah, I did enjoy that show, so it is kind of sad to hear it going away. But it was a good show, so there's that happiness on me that it happened. I'm glad.
And ripping the Band-Aid off the other cancellation, I can share that Extraordinary has been canceled. This was the UK comedy that I think Kevin, I know I really enjoyed. It just had some kind of bonkers, funny characters, has been canceled. That is definitely a bummer, because season 2 ended on a cliffhanger, and we're not going to ever know what happens.
Yeah, I enjoyed what I saw of it too. I don't believe I saw any of season 2. I did see some of, if not all of season 1. So yeah, it is kind of a bummer. It is, as it is with any genre-related genre-related comedy is what I'm trying to say. I always am glad to see those out there. Like recently we had Lower Decks, for instance. And I'm sad to see them go. So yeah, I feel your pain.
Yeah, this was a real bummer for me, because this was a very funny show. I mean, as Wendy said, it's definitely oddball, very weird. The type of humor they go for sometimes is just slap your knee, type stuff that catches you off guard. Sometimes the humor didn't hit, but gave them credit for really creating something that was definitely different. So since we don't have many comedies, genre comedies, it's even more of a sad note that we won't at some point get another season.
Indeed. Got to pour one out for Jen, wherever she may be. And moving on to some trailers and stuff that's coming up. First, Brent's got some news out of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, kind of the positive spin on that whole canceled thing. This is a show that was canceled, but it's back. Daredevil, Born Again. After Marvel, was bought by Disney, then they basically took back the TV rights to Daredevil. and the shows were canceled on Netflix. They've re-engineered it, however, with the same cast, which is great. This trailer shows us some great scenes that show the same cast. Still got Karen there. You still got everybody. You got Foggy. And you've still got our great Kingpin, and that we've seen teased throughout, right? We got a little bit of Kingpin in Hawkeye and then in Echo, and we got a little bit, obviously, of Daredevil in She-Hulk. But we get to see a more serious, dark, kind of very, very violent, very very not Disney-like trailer for the show we're going to get starting on March 4th. So I'm super excited to have this one come back. I hope they'll probably have another trailer possibly before it premieres. Definitely some like snippets and things. So I'm getting excited. I want to see this world, and I want to see it told hopefully in a guys, we talked about this when it was on the air. Netflix had this horrible habit of structuring seasons where you started out with a couple of great episodes full of action and adventure and excitement. Then there was like 6-7 episodes of total boredom, and then they finally get really exciting at the end. I'm hoping Disney doesn't do that. I'm hoping they just are exciting the whole time. They're going to have fewer episodes, I'm sure. I don't think we have an exact episode count, but I'm sure they'll have less than Netflix was doing. So maybe it'll be a lot more jam-packed. Yeah,
certainly one I'm very much looking forward to. As you said, for all the reasons you mentioned, there was a lot to enjoy. That was, kind of a time past. Although we still see it sometime, don't we, with some shows where they just drag it out in the middle. But, this set of characters, what it's going to be like going back to this universe as a viewer, how they might set things up for, this show certainly had some of the best fight scenes you're going to see anywhere in its initial run. So lots around it to be excited for me and, early March.
Yeah, this trailer looked like the series that we had on Netflix, which is encouraging. And great character matchup with Kingpin coming back. Plus, it's nice to see all the other regulars. So I'm definitely looking forward to this, and it's just coming in about a month.
My favorite part of this entire trailer was seeing John Barenthal's The Punisher. He's going to be in this show, which means he is the official MCU Punisher, and I'm so excited about that.
As soon as I saw him in the trailer, I thought of Brent, knowing how happy he would be.
So we're going to move on to some news that Kevin's got for The Last of Us.
Yeah, Max dropped a, doesn't really say trailer. I'd call it more a teaser. It's less than a minute for as Wendy said, Last of Us Season 2. They haven't given us a premiere date, but they have announced that it will be April. So sometime in April. So at this point, if you haven't seen it yet, by all means, I recommend follow the link in our show notes. Little less than a minute worth of content. See some of our regulars, if you will, or our stars from season 1 and some other faces that I don't recognize. And some, of the challenges that they're going to be facing in this world. So good to get an idea of the timeline of when it's coming back. So excited to hopefully get a little more, too, in the coming weeks.
Yeah, this was nice to see. It feels like it's been gone a long time. So it was nice to see some familiar faces, some hints of where the story's going. And, we don't have a specific date in April, but April isn't that far away. So that also actually made me feel pretty good that they're, amping up my interest not too far away from when we're actually going to see it.
Yeah, it definitely gave a flavor and a feel for season 2. I have to tread carefully, as do all people who've either played the video games or are aware of them. But I said this last time when we talked about Last of Us coming back for season 2, and I'll say it again. I sure hope that they decide to go a different direction with the TV show than the video games did. That's all I'm going to say.
Interesting. Yeah. And for what it's worth, too, this trailer's been out less than a month, and it's coming up on 2 million views. So obviously there's a lot of folks who are interested in this.
Yeah, this show really had quite a spark when it hit. So I'm expecting that will happen again. And we talked a little bit earlier about some good shows returning and School Spirits. We didn't quick review it because not all of us have watched it yet, but Season 2 is actually back as of this recording. We have a link in the show notes to the official trailer, and it definitely hints at picking things up right where we left off, answering the big questions that we had at the end of Season 1. And we get 3 episodes to kick us off, so that's all some really good news.
It is good news, and from watching the trailer, I am confident I did see Season 1, but it's been so long I can't remember it all. I don't remember what happened in that show. I hate these long gaps between seasons that are happening. I'm definitely going to check it out because I remember checking out Season 1, and I remember having a positive opinion of it. That's about all I can remember.
Yeah, and for me, I remember giving the show a try, a couple of episodes. It didn't really stick. I just didn't stick. Not that I hated it or anything. It certainly seems like got some compelling stuff, so good to see that it's back. And if one thing I noticed for folks, if you've got an interest in this show and you don't have a subscription to Paramount Plus, I noticed that Paramount Plus just dropped all of Season 1 of this show on their YouTube channel for free, which is something Paramount Plus actually does with other shows too, to their credit. I've seen them periodically do that with shows when they have a new season that they drop the previous one on YouTube. So if you've got an interest, it's up there for free.
But usually only for a limited time, right? They usually pull them down after a couple of weeks or a month or something, right?
I don't know as far as the YouTube ones. I know on some of the other streaming services, yes, but I don't know if they disappear from YouTube. That's a great question, Brent. I haven't followed up on some of these, to see if it's still there a while later. But as we record this, Season 1 is there. So if you're interested,
hurry up.
Yeah, don't delay.
So, Brent, we did enjoy talking about this show. I remember you and I talked about it quite a bit.
Okay. I'm just getting old, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. When things are gone for a whole year, it's easy to forget them or more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's becoming so much more the norm now. And I've seen so many articles and critiques about how it's really starting to, as Brent pointed out, really annoy viewers who just can't remember what happened.
Yeah, looking at you, Stranger Things.
Stranger Things kids are like they're in middle management, right? In some company now. They're like in their 30s, right?
It's going to be like Stranger Things The Next Generation by the time this next season airs, based on something I saw. They're trying to be optimistic about sometime before the end of 2025. So You're still 10 months away.
Yeah. Well, here's a show we all remember, Grimm, and Brent's got some news about it.
Yeah, and I have mixed emotions about this news. They've announced that there is going to be a Grimm reboot movie in development at Peacock. Not a series, although I imagine they might extend it to a series if it does well. But this is coming back as a true reboot, which is what I'm a little upset about. I enjoyed the Grimm universe a lot. We talked about it so much on this podcast. We all three really enjoyed that show and that universe and the characters in it. So I'm excited to see that come back, but I'm not so excited to hear that it's going to be a reboot with a new take, because apparently the creator of Drop Dead Diva, Josh Berman, has a new take that he wants to apply to this. However, he is going to be creating it with the same co-creators of the original show. That's good news, I guess. But I'm uneven. I'm unsure. I'm excited for more Grimm. Sad that they can't just continue on with the next generation, because they set that up at the end of the series, at the series finale. I don't know why they can't do that, but I'm excited about the universe, so I don't know what to think, guys.
Yeah, this is you're hitting the nail on the head for me, Brent, because that's the stuff when we have a show that we've greatly enjoyed, and Grimm was one of those. I mean, it was solid during its run. It really was one of those ones you really appreciated the longer it went. So, yay? Question mark? For all the reasons you pointed out. We're not getting exactly what we had, but since the original creator is involved, maybe that'll lead to the same kind of tone or feel, but boy, is this one where you just can't wait to see what the first trailer looks like, to see if it's, quote unquote, still Grimm.
Yeah, this is, a one that I have mixed emotions about. I really like Grimm. I watch it all the time on Comet channel where it reruns. And this article says that they're keeping the premise under wraps, but it's believed to have ties to the series, but could also be accessed by new viewers. So maybe it's going to be the kids spinoff, which would be just fine with me. And it could, be, quote, a reboot versus actually having Detective Nick Burkhart as the central character. So I'm going to be optimistic until I see a trailer that is disappointing. But because the two creators are involved, So I, to your point about tone, I hope that, we stay in that similarity to the original. And it sure would be great if we could manage to at least have cameos from a bunch of the folks from the original series. So let's talk a little bit more about teasing things that are coming. And Kevin's got something out of the Alien universe.
Yeah, this one's kind of, I don't want to say snuck up on us a little bit, because I know we've touched on it a little bit, but the upcoming series, Alien Earth, set very much to do with the, late 70s, the original movie Alien and what's happened there. So going back quite a bit, but we've heard this is coming. We got a teaser, which is definitely a definition of a teaser in the sense that there's just a tiny bit of content there. So I'll let you go look at it, folks, if you're slightly interested. But it's mainly a placeholder to let us know that this is coming in the summer. No specific date given yet, not even a month. But it will be coming to Hulu. And apparently this one is pretty popular, too, because as we're recording, this trailer has only been out for 5 days, and it's almost got 6 million views. So this is definitely one where, talk about having to live up to previous content. It's, a more detailed trailer in that first episode is really going to tell me a lot about whether or not I'm sticking with this show.
Well, the teaser definitely established that we're in the Alien universe. It was very on brand in terms of the sound effects and special effects, and what might be the initial setup of the show at least. So I will look forward to a longer trailer.
Yeah, the Alien universe is one that I really enjoy. I think I've seen all the movies except the most recent one that just came out, which is it's up on one of the streaming services now, so I still have that in my queue ready to watch. So I'm excited for this. I do enjoy the Alien universe. So many great quotes, so many great scenes. The whole Sigourney Weaver and the exoskeleton, the loader. That stuff's awesome. All of that stuff. Even the ones that aren't related to Sigourney Weaver necessarily. The ones about the Prometheus and all of that, which are in the same universe. Those are pretty good. So looking forward to this. This trailer is pretty much all CGI. In fact, it is all CGI. It shows a facehugger trying to get off a ship, apparently, and then suddenly that, we pull back and we see the ship is crashing into Earth. So bad stuff's about to happen.
It was nice to hear. Sure sounded like Sigourney Weaver's voice was the voice of the computer on the ship.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to rewatch that.
I didn't notice either. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It'd be a kind of a crossover between that and the what was that sci-fi show she did, the Star Trek spinoff spoof thing?
Galaxy Quest?
Galaxy Quest, yeah. Remember she was like
yes.
a communications officer in that one, and she hated it?
I repeat the instructions. That's all I do, but let me do it.
Talking about the Alien universe, a little plug, folks, if you are big fans of, James Cameron's Aliens, there's a documentary out there called Aliens Expanded, done by the folks who have done some of the other big documentaries, fan-based stuff, crowdsourced as far as funding and all. But it's one that I purchased a couple months back. 3-4 hours long, but they talk to everybody, Cameron on down. So it is very detailed, has a lot of great inside information about everything from the filming to the casting to everything there. So if you are a fan of that movie and want to kind of revisit all that went along with it, I would highly recommend that documentary. You can, get it on Blu-ray or digital. And like I say, these are the folks who do, like they've done ones for sci-fi, like Into Darkness for horror movies and these things that these fans put out. High production quality. And as I say, 3 to 5 hours long. So you get to go deep into the universe. So pretty well done.
A very deep dive. So we also have a trailer for Paradise, the show that Brent mentioned at the top of the show. And this kind of sets things up. I have to admit, when I watched it, I did come back and say, hey, what is the genre hook? I've been assured there is one. Might not be super obvious from the trailer. But definitely interesting story potential. I really like Sterling K. Brown, who's the lead. So based on the trailer, I'll probably at least check it out a little bit, unless I hear some more from Kevin and Brent that dissuades me.
Well, I've already given up on the show, but the trailer does, as mentioned by Wendy, doesn't really give away the hook, but the hook is post-apocalyptic hook. Let's put it that way. It's one of those sorts of shows. But as Kevin said, it's really in the background. Apparently, what's attracting a lot of people to this is just the characters in the story, which it wasn't enough for me. I didn't really latch onto the characters, and the story was just going too slow for me. So I gave up on it already. But hey, check out the trailer. And if you want to check it out, I mean, maybe this is something for you.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit in the back porch about these first 3 episodes that are out there. But just to button off what Wendy and Brent are touching on, the genre aspect, it's essentially that there's an extinction level event that occurs. And this is, folks, in the aftermath of that. Although it doesn't appear to be that when you're watching it. So they do a lot of other things. But, and thanks to a listener, who recommended it to me, to give it a try. I've enjoyed the first 3 episodes. It's not a slam dunk. Oh my goodness, I got to watch it. More so of just curiosity of how they're going to interweave these pieces together. But it is not fast paced. It's not action. You got to enjoy watching a bit of a mystery, death of one of the main characters, and things play out a bit to see if it might be something you enjoy.
All right. So we know folks like to know who's coming to shows, and Brent's got some casting news to share.
Yes, I do, and it's about 2 shows. I'm going to talk about Ahsoka and House of the Dragon. So if you are very sensitive to maybe some spoilers about where shows are going, skip forward a few minutes. For Ahsoka Season 2, as we suspected, as a lot of people suspected, as I had hoped, the late Ray Stevenson, who did a marvelous job playing Baylan Skoll, that character was so integral to the story of Ahsoka Season 1, and he had definitely unresolved elements to his story. I mean, they set up more of it at the end. They had to recast him, and they did. But they recast him with somebody who is apparently a close personal friend of Ray Stevenson's, and that would be the actor Rory McCann, who we all know as the Hound in Game of Thrones. And I can kind of see it. I mean, obviously the Hound and Baylan Skoll are totally different characters, but I can see Rory McCann playing Baylan Skoll. So I'm going to look forward to that casting a lot because I really want to see where that character goes. The other bit of casting news is for House of the Dragon Season 3. I'm not watching House of the Dragon, but apparently British TV actor James Norton, who apparently was in The Nevers, which we have seen and talked about on this podcast, is going to be playing a character called Ormond Hightower. I know nothing about Ormond Hightower, but something tells me Wendy does.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm not aware of where they're going with the House of the Dragon, pardon me. The Ahsoka stuff is cool. Again, just reminds me that the show is coming back. And that I am very much interested in. So this makes perfect sense for what they're doing there. So looking forward to seeing it in action.
Well, I love that it's going to be Rory McCann, who is a very good actor. I mean, people know him from The Hound, but he has quite a range, which he did show in Game of Thrones. He can be comedic. He can be quite dramatic. So I think that's a very exciting casting news. And as for House of the Dragon, the character Ormond Hightower has been spoken much about in Season 1. He's on his way. Season 2. He's on his way from Old Town. So now we know who's coming. Not sure if he'll be in time for dinner, but I don't know anything about the character because I did not read the books. So he's just kind of a placeholder for somebody who's going to show up. So that one's not quite as exciting as the Ahsoka news for me. And we've talked in our Discord about Netflix and its various levels. And Kevin's got some news about what Netflix has behind the advertising tier that is blocked.
Yeah, this was a fun conversation, actually, that happened on our Discord that kind of brought this particular article to light. Excellent conversation between several of us just talking about, Netflix, their different tiers, and how the most inexpensive one, the ad-supported one, they've got, 150 plus movies, shows that are just not available at that level. That's kind of their approach on this. I know a lot of other service providers, you get ads, but you still get almost all the same content, but not Netflix. Again, always blazing new trails. So the link in the show notes has the full list of, as of the time of the article here, which of those titles are not available. And Netflix, as any smart marketing company would do, since I'm someone who is on the ad-supported level, if you go in and you're looking around for content or look up a specific item, there's a little lock symbol on there to let you know you can't watch that. You click on it and you get a screen basically saying not available on your level, and another link to take you to a couple of the other levels that they have where you would be able to get that content. So the thing that I found most interesting, very honestly, from this list is that there are some of their originals that are not included, which that was the biggest surprise to me. I would have thought all of their originals would have been at least included, but they're not. But the other item personally was the fact that there's only I think it's 12 or 13 TV shows that are blocked from the ad level. But of course, one of them is Winona Earp, which I was watching a lot on Netflix. I had already purchased them on iTunes, so I can watch them there, but it was convenient on Netflix, myself and a lot of people. And also I was looking at doing maybe a rewatch of The Magicians. We were looking at maybe covering that for the DragonCon Urban Fantasy track in some panels. And sure enough, The Magicians is also. So, for a very small list of shows blocked, unfortunately, a couple that I really wanted were there.
Yeah, this was interesting because, first of all, I wasn't even aware of it until this conversation with our Discord, some of our Discord regulars. And then when I went in to look at the list, as Kevin mentioned, it's a big list, but for me, there was only a couple things that I was very disappointed about. One of them was Peaky Blinders, because I haven't finished it. And now I don't know when I'll be able to. And The Magicians, which I like to rewatch, which isn't going to be easy anymore, besides Kevin mentioned Winona Earp. So those were kind of the ones that were jumped out at me as, feeling like I have a FOMO, but everything else was like, whatever, I'm not paying for that. So the other thing that was interesting in this article was talking about who's holding out, and, it's Universal, it's Sony, it's Netflix originals that come from DreamWorks. So it's these very specific type holdouts. It's not like I think Netflix had a plan, more so than, they just had some hangups with negotiations.
Yeah, as with people have found out with satellite providers and cable providers, it's all those negotiations with all those different and agreements and licensing and stuff that's playing a part here. My wife and I watch Netflix so much that when they announced the ad tier, we just said, we shrugged our shoulders and said, we'll just stick with what we have. So we have access to all these, but it is kind of, I was kind of initially raising an eyebrow and went, hey, wait a minute, when, they said on Discord that they were blocking titles. But reading this article, it's the only good side to this, the only silver lining is, as Kevin indicated or hinted at, it's not that many. It's 2% of their entire library. So it's out of 7,381 titles, only 151 you can't get with the ad-supported tier, and you have to pay more, which isn't big. But it also makes me, as somebody who's paying more, think to myself, wait a minute, why am I paying more for only 151 titles that I'm probably not watching? So it's maybe having a reverse effect that Netflix didn't intend.
Yeah, and they also, just by their model, because they are the big dog in this fight, is that, it's like twice as much to go from the ad level to the next, non-ad supported level. So, it's not a couple of bucks. And to their credit, hopefully they're not listening, the amount of ads is not significant. It's not that bad, very honestly. It's only like maybe 2 interruptions per movie or TV show, and they're not extensive like I know, for example, Hulu, being on the ad-supported level there, God, they've got a lot of ads. But Netflix, it's not too bad.
Kevin, I need to ask you something about that. The ad-supported Netflix. I imagine as you're looking at the timeline, like you want to scrub the episode or movie, it has an indicator of where the ad's going to be. Is that correct? Is it like other services?
Yes, I do believe so. Yes.
And here, is it like other services where you can't go past that? Like if I want to start an episode of a show or a movie, and I only want to go to a certain scene that's like three-quarters the way through. I hate it when they say, okay, well, then you have to watch 2 sets of commercials.
Yeah, you have to do that. You do.
I don't recall, though, it being that bad. Like if I jump there, I'd have to check it again because I've done this recently on another ad-supported service. So I don't want to misspeak about Netflix, but I don't recall that jumping, way past or like past the 2 ad breaks that were planned, whether or not I then had to sit through, 7 minutes of ads. I don't think it was anything really obnoxious. That's my
it's
feel.
It's not like Hulu where they literally make you watch the same ad 4 times.
Yeah.
Because
Hulu's awful.
they placed it 4 times in that particular episode. But you do have to watch generally 2 ads, no matter where you want to start in the
Interesting
thing.
And I was kind of joking before about why I'm paying for 151 titles. Really, I'm paying for the lack of ads because I just can't stand them. I can't stand ads.
If
so
you can
I'm
get
willing to pay more.
That's what a lot of it will come down to there. And also, if anyone is now annoyed, maybe even Wendy, as far as the musicians, the magicians, once it went to that ad tier with Netflix, for example, now you can watch them for free on Tubi. So, they are the content. It's part of the reason I think is because the content's now available on other providers too.
Yeah. And this is a case where I'm lazy about my rewatching of things. I mentioned watching Grimm because it's on Comet, so I watch it because it's there. And I very much enjoy it, but I see it, right? It is presented to me. So similar with the magicians, it's not there. So I'm not gonna go seek it out, but I would have been watching it.
The whole ad thing for paid services might be a good 200-minute topic in the future. But one thing I absolutely hate ads, so I'm willing to pay a little bit more to get rid of them. But there are some services like Max and Prime Video that actually put ads at the beginning, even if you pay the full tier, you're at the highest tier. Some of them, I can't remember which one. One of them lets you skip that. You don't have to watch it. The others make you sit through it. I'm starting to watch a program. I'm paying you the most money I can pay you, and you're making me sit through 30 to 60 seconds of something I don't want to watch. It really annoys me.
Yeah, I know on Amazon Prime now you can pay an extra, I think it's $6 a month to make the ads go away. But like you said, at least they're only at the beginning. So it's kind of like, for me, especially with like a movie, it's a little bit like the old days, or at least in my viewing, knowing that you're going to have all of the intro and all that stuff, that I'll just click at the start, and then now's the time to go grab that drink or the quick bathroom run or whatever. By the time I come back, the ad's over and we've actually started it.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I just fill time until it's done. So we are going to wrap up the water cooler with a tuner minute. Brent recorded this week's titled Subgenre.
When we talk about genre television, we basically mean science fiction, fantasy, and horror. But not everyone who loves genre television enjoys all 3 of these main genres, or if they do, often they have a favorite. But within these higher genres, there are also subgenres. For instance, in fantasy, we have high fantasy, such as Lord of the Rings. And also we have urban fantasy, such as Buffy or Winona Earp. In science fiction, we have examples such as space-based sci-fi or post-apocalyptic sci-fi, which can sometimes coexist with the horror genre when zombies or mutants are in the mix. But I suspect that if pressed, we each have a favorite genre and subgenre. For me, I prefer fantasy as a whole over science fiction as a whole, but my favorite subgenre of them all is time travel science fiction. So if you had to pick one of each, what is your favorite genre and what is your favorite subgenre?
All right. Well, as many of you, I think, already know, I am the assistant track director for the urban fantasy track at DragonCon. So I am speaking on and moderating panels there every year now. And so I would definitely say the subgenre, as you pointed out, would be that urban fantasy of the fantasy genre. And shows like Buffy and Winona Earp are right there at the top of my all-time favorites. As far as the bigger picture look, I might actually go with sci-fi, maybe because that's kind of how it all started for me when I was a kid, from Star Trek and more movies that were science fiction than fantasy. Not that I don't still love fantasy across many of those, both high fantasy and others. So, but for some reason, I just, in my gut, would think when someone tells me if I can only watch one ever going forward, I might actually pick sci-fi because that still, for me, very much creates that wonder of just something so much bigger than myself. Since, for example, urban fantasy takes place normally in a setting we all would seem to think was real, for much of it. But, science fiction and the idea of spaceships and space battles just really is something that's, to my core, been something I've loved forever.
Wow, this is interesting. I definitely like urban fantasy, especially when it's mixed with horror. So, Sanctuary, Vampire Diaries, that kind of stuff. But I also really like the original Star Trek and Next Generation, and I think I would have to say that for television. I think I would still have to go with that, particularly right now, because between Star Wars and Star Trek, that's some of the best stuff that's currently on TV right now for me. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to pick.
So that's your subgenre, is space-based sci-fi?
Yeah. Not an apocalypse.
Right.
But future.
So what's your favorite overall genre? Is it science fiction, fantasy, horror?
I think science fiction.
Okay. That's interesting. You have science fiction as your overall and space-based as your sub. Kevin and I both picked a different overall from our sub. That's kind of interesting.
Well, I guess I would switch that then, and I would say my sub is urban fantasy.
Okay. So science fiction, you're just like Kevin then. Okay, cool.
Ding, yeah, but the thing I like is totally different from what Kevin likes of urban fantasy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Not totally different. I think Kevin likes some of the stuff we do. So. But that's interesting. I asked the question because I was curious genuinely about you two, but also the listeners about what people like, because we always say genre television. Well, what is genre television? Well, we kind of know and accept that it's science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And then I was thinking to myself, well, yeah, but I've said many times on the show that time travel is my favorite subgenre. And then I started thinking, well, what if that's my favorite subgenre? Does that mean I like all of science fiction more than anything else? And I thought, no, I like fantasy a lot in general, all of fantasy, both the high fantasy and the urban fantasy stuff. So that's where I started saying, well, I can have both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I can have a favorite subgenre that's in a different genre. So it was an interesting question that I came up with on the spur of the moment prior to the recording of this podcast, by the way, which I do a lot, unfortunately. But hopefully it's a good enough question that it'll get people talking.
Yeah, I'd be curious how many other folks are like us in the sense of they don't align. Your sub isn't the same as your primary. And I didn't really know that till you started talking about it. So that's where at least for me, a good tuna minute is fun. Sometimes making you go, oh, I'd never really thought about that.
Yeah, I definitely will be curious to hear what folks have to share. So now let's head on over to the back porch.
Today we talk about Skeleton Crew, Paradise, and Silo.
First up in the back porch, we're going to talk about Skeleton Crew. We had the last 2 episodes of season 1, and Brent is going to start us off.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about those, but in general about the series. And this is one of those shows, and we talked about it last time, where you go into it with the trailers and the teasers and thinking to myself, everybody was thinking this is kind of a kid show, or it's a young adult show, maybe a YA show. And I think it is a YA show, but like a lot of the young adult shows that we've come across before, like Percy Jackson and others, it turns out to be a lot better than you would expect. In other words, it's not just for young adults. It's not just for kids. It has things that can appeal to us older people. especially those who are Star Wars fans. In the case of Skeleton Crew, it started out so kind of quirky and fun, very Stranger Things-ish, and then people were talking about Goonies and other shows, other movies that it kind of reminded them of, and I see all of that. But it features kids as central characters, but it is definitely in the Star Wars universe. I love how it started out as basically the kids being kind of fanboys, fangirls of, well, at least some of them, of some of the things that we've all accepted as part of Star Wars, lightsabers and Jedi and all that stuff. And they had no exposure this world, and these kids getting dumped into the post-Empire, the New Republic part of the Star Wars universe, was kind of a shock to them, kind of a system shock, and the whole progression of them and the pirate / Jedi that they think is a Jedi, the Force wielder, who we later find out in the finale is absolutely somebody who was found, what do they call him, Boken Jedi or something like that. He was found by a Jedi on the run, and she believed he had Force sensitivity and could be trained, and would have been had the Jedi Order still exist. And so she took him under her wing and started training him, and that's how he knows what he knows from what she taught him. But then she was caught, probably by the Inquisitors who were hunting down the Jedi, and killed brutally, apparently, in front of him. So that kind of probably twisted him a little bit. He was already in a bad place. He didn't have a happy family or anything. It seemed like he was all on his own, kind of, had been orphaned or something, and she found him. So he a lot of circumstances sent him down the wrong path. And while a lot of us were hoping that he would redeem himself, he didn't really redeem himself. He never really did. I kind of like that about Star Wars. They actually took a chance here. Usually they're going to redeem people. At some point during this series, I thought to myself that he was clearly kind of like a Han Solo. He was a rogue, right? No, he's not nice. He's not a Darth Vader. He's not that evil or that dark. But he was definitely somebody very selfish and in for his own benefit, and didn't care who he hurt in the process. Although he did seem to have a little bit of compassion for the kids at some point. But it was still fun at the end to see the kids have to work with their parents to convince them that it didn't take long once the pirates started attacking, that this guy is bad and that they need to do things, and then eventually taking down the barrier, which is then opening them up to the entire universe, so that the real good guys, which is the title of the finale, right? The X-Wing and the New Republics and guys come in and start cleaning house and kicking the pirates out, and our not hero, but our lead pirate guy is there at the end, and they all leave him there as he just watches everything fall, and we don't know what happens. The only nitpick I can have for Skeleton Crew, honestly, I really enjoyed the ride. It was fun. I would recommend people watch it. It's not the kind of thing, and I will watch it again. It's not the kind of thing I only watch once. Not like Section 31, where I enjoyed it. It was fun, but I wouldn't want to go back to it. This I will go back to. But one thing I am upset about, one nitpick I have, is that they just kind of left it. They showed a resolution to the pirates, to the kids, but then they never showed us anything afterwards. Like most shows will give us a little bit of a hint about what happens after the big battle, what happens after the bad guy is defeated, after the real good guys come. We can kind of maybe guess at some of the things that are going to happen. Obviously, the planet is going to become part of the New Republic, or at least New Republic is going to help them kind of adjust and adapt to being exposed to the rest of the universe now, probably offer their protection and all that stuff. We can kind of guess all that, but they didn't show any of that, really. And they didn't tell us what the kids are doing. What's their life going to be like now? It's as if they're setting up for season 2, but they didn't give us anything to really tease us for the season 2. They kind of just ended the season 1 story, so it is a self-contained story. But when you come to the end, you're going to be like, wait a minute, that's it? There's nothing more? I'm not trying to say it's a bad ending. It's just I wanted more of that one. But I think I got that impression from watching a lot of people reacting to this and talking about it online as well. They all had kind of that reaction at the end. But no, overall, I think this was a great series. I'm going to be very controversial here. I've said it before and I'll say it again. A lot of people think Andor is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't. I think it's kind of boring. It's beautiful and well acted, but it's kind of boring. I wouldn't say Skeleton Crew is the best either, but I would rank it above Andor. And I know that's controversial, but that's how I put it. Not as good as Ahsoka, maybe.
Yeah, this was interesting for me, and it touches on kind of what you're bringing up there a little bit at the end, Brent. In terms of what do you and collective you want from your Star Wars content? Now that we've had just the wonderful opportunity to get some of these different shows set in that universe, we've got a few other movies too, but beyond the core of what they had been for so many years. And it's funny too, because I didn't watch Andor, didn't think it would be for me. And having jumped in a little late and watched all of Skeleton Crew, I guess it kind of motivated me to try Andor recently, as I mentioned to my co-host here before we started recording, to go on a little tangent, and tried 2 episodes, didn't like it at all, so I have no plans to go back to it. So there's that. And on this show, I guess I couldn't get past the fact that it was so focused on the kids for the entire run. It just felt too much like me, like it was a show designed for younger viewers. It's not. I'm not saying it is, but it's what it seemed, and it never kind of broke that for me. So while I was glad that the positive comments from both my co-hosts and other folks too on our Discord and such made me want to jump in, but so I watched it, enjoyed it, definitely enjoyed it more than Andor. But like you, it was like I was waiting in that last episode for him to do something a little more towards redemption, or more on the I'm not just a pirate, because as you said, he's not a bad guy per se, but he definitely was very selfish focused, and which could have led into another season, and then I might have had something to latch onto. So, no, entertaining. I don't think I'll go back to it, but there's a lot of shows I enjoy that I don't go back to. But the same way, if someone asks about watching this show or heard about it, I'll say, hey, as long as you're good with kids being your leads for the entire run of the season, it's something you might enjoy.
Yeah, so I really like this, and I had mentioned early on when we were discussing it how one of the executive producers talked about being inspired by Goonies, and I very much had that vibe from this series. So, it's centered around kids, but it's definitely a show that adults can certainly enjoy and appreciate. I have the similar, not letdown, but sort of pause, I guess, that there was no epilogue about what happened later. I mean, this planet had been hidden. It was the source of all this wealth for the Empire, so it's important, and yet the story didn't sort of expand into the implications of what it means now that this world has been uncovered. It really just resolved the immediate problem, but it didn't give us that, epilogue to tell us what might be in store for anybody. I would be happy to see what happens in that corner of the galaxy again in the future, though. And I really did actually like that Jude Law's character, and his name was Bo something, that he wasn't redeemed. And to me, his backstory was sort of like Ezra Bridger from Rebels, except if Ezra Bridger had gone down a different road with, using his powers and how he had to survive. So I liked it. To me, this felt very much a piece of the Star Wars universe. Brent had mentioned Andor. Andor is very different. I liked both, but they're very different. Andor is really about, how you start a revolution and a resistance. So it's much more a political intrigue kind of a story. And I agree, it was very slow to start, but I really did appreciate it once it got going. But back to Skeleton Crew, very much enjoyed it. I would rewatch this series as well, and I would hope for some more in the future.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. Well, maybe you and me. The thing that that I'm going to say is that the new Disney era live action Star Wars series, I still think Mandalorian's my favorite. It just is. It started the whole thing. It's really my favorite. It just feels really great. Ahsoka's right up there. I would maybe even put Obi-Wan above or right around the same place as Skeleton Crew. And then you kind of know how I feel about the rest. But yeah, I mean, it was okay.
Yeah, for me, Mandalorian is, way above all the other ones.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mandalorian in quite a while, so it's way above there because it was the first, maybe? I don't know.
I thought it was done best too, but then again, the third season or the most recent season, whatever it was a little sloppier than the others.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple were stronger, but see, I've rewatched Mandalorian multiple times. I mean, that's one that at least to me, the content and the character and the stories have been, much more rich than some of the other series, in this universe that they've done. Not that I've disliked them, just haven't liked them near as much.
Part of me at the end of Skeleton Crew was thinking, well, maybe we'll see more of this story in the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie that's coming out that Dave Filoni's working on, or maybe in the new Star Wars movie that they're apparently working on. He is working on as well. That is not the same as the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But then I thought to myself, unlikely, because again, as Wendy pointed out, and as you pointed out, Kevin, I guess you pointed out more than Wendy, the focus of the show has been for kids. They're not going to have that big of a time jump so that they can be older. So how are they going to get 4 kids involved? So I was even more disappointed at the end of Skeleton Crew, thinking, well, we're probably never going to see these guys again unless we get a second season.
Yeah, and if they're going to keep the kids as the focus, we can't be going like 3 years between seasons because they're going to grow up too fast.
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they can be off in Star Wars Academy at that point.
Yeah, or a subset of them,
Yeah. Some stay behind on the planet. Some go off to fight.
I do want to say that my favorite character of this entire show, Skeleton Crew, was KB. I love her so much.
Yeah, I like that character. I also liked the robot, C-33. Is that his name?
Smee? SM-33? Smee?
Yeah, SM-33. Thank you. Good stuff. So moving on, let's talk about Paradise, Kevin.
Yes. So Paradise has had 3 episodes drop. For those, if you're someone who hasn't seen it or heard about it and you don't mind getting spoilery here, as we record this, the first 3 episodes dropped. I think it's an 8 or a 10 episode season. This, as we touched on a little bit, quick reviews and sharing the trailer earlier, the look of it from the trailer and from when you start to watch it this is a bit of a political drama in the sense that your main character, Sterling K. Brown, as Wendy said earlier, strong actor, is Secret Service, and his job is to protect someone who has become the former president of the United States, played by James Marsden. So you've got, there's other names and faces you'll recognize, strong cast. So it looks like it's a little bit of a political situation of what's going on there. This all comes out in the trailer and information of what's happening. But the other part around this that is not played up as much, certainly so far, although is a part of it and has been mentioned and shown, is that some type of and we don't know yet, even the first 3 episodes, some type of extinction level event occurs. And these folks are actually, them and thousands of others are living underground, even though we don't know it. And you couldn't tell unless there's a couple of little items to show you that they're living in this special place. So there's a bit of a murder mystery playing out with some political stuff, with a little bit of genre there. Sarah Shahi from Person of Interest comes into play here in the first couple of episodes. She, as we're finding out, is going to be a main character part. Had a big part to play in all of this. And again, teasing a little info. So each episode has kind of teased a big thing, whether it's to relate to the genre side or to the story aspect. Some interesting things there that if this does actually happen, how advanced could we be with that? How would people react to it? So, it's got me slightly intrigued. Again, it's not like oh my goodness, I'm going to recommend it to everybody. Nor is it action-packed where you edge of your seat. So if, based on the 3 episodes, you enjoy a well-acted show, strong performances, bit of a mystery, a bit of genre, then it might be worth a look for you. But as Brent is going to expand on, I'm sure, didn't stick for him because, it's not like it's got big hooks that are going to make you want to rewatch that whole part again.
Okay, so I'm currently watching The Night Agent season 2, and it sounds like I can finish that first.
Yeah, I mean, Probably. This is not a drop everything kind of thing, and maybe a few more episodes in, my recommendation might be to drop other things, or, it kind of petered off. Time will tell.
Yeah. Like I said, I've kind of given up on it. I have given up on it. I'm not planning on watching anymore. Unless Kevin comes back and says, hey, the genre stuff gets really great and it's moving a lot faster now, then I might go back. But this strikes me as the kind of show that, I'm curious what caused this extinction level event. I'm curious what happened, but not curious enough to sit through this show. So this is the kind of show where I'd love to read a summary afterwards. Somebody could do a summary of the entire series. That'd be great. Like 1, 2, maybe 3 paragraphs, and I'll be happy. I don't need to watch it all.
Yeah, I've read 2 different reviews from critics who I guess have access to the first 6 or 7 episodes, not the whole season. And both of them are kind of in line with the, again, if you're here for performances and a bit of a mystery, they've done a decent job as they go along of throwing you a curveball you didn't expect to want to see a little more, but it's also not like riveting that you gotta, this is something they got to put on their top 10 list for the year. So again, we'll see. We'll see if I stick to it and where it might go. It's just something, again, thank you to the listener who mentioned it. And I do plan to keep with it, and we'll see how long that lasts.
All right. I will also be curious to hear what you say about this one, Kevin. So I'm going to finish us up with Silo, the last 2 episodes, The Safeguard and Into the Fire. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details because I hope Kevin and Brent eventually watch the show. Season 2, I thought, was really good. We had, I would say season 1 was slow because it was setting things up, and it took me a while to get really invested in any particular character. Juliet finally was the one that stuck. In season 2, I'm very much invested in Juliet's character, but a lot of the other characters as well. Several of the folks in the lower levels, but also some of the folks in the upper levels too. And so in episode 9, we learned sort of what the fail-safe is for the silos, which is pretty ominous. And then in the final episode, Juliet makes it back to her silo and tells everybody, don't come outside. But it was just a wonderful moment when everyone actually sees her again, and she's they're confirmed that she's alive, because that was a big component of season 2. So I love that was paid off, but also set up this very ominous, don't come outside, it's not safe. And then we get at the very end some possible explanation about what's going on, which is also very interesting, sort of blast from the past kind of setup for season 3. And we know that there's only going to be a season 3 and a season 4. So for me, that was actually very exciting to know, what we know so far, and that we have 2 more seasons, and starting to think about what might be the story ahead for the 2 silos that we know about, and the bigger world outside. So I would still recommend this show if you have access to Apple Plus.
I know I've got it on my Apple Plus list, along with Severance, which I was mentioning before recording. You folks might recall a couple months ago we mentioned that season 1 of it had gone to the Roku channel. Well, I waited too long when I went to Roku to watch it. Only the first episode was there of season 1, which I watched and enjoyed. Definitely had me intrigued. So, but yeah, Severance and Silo are definitely on that list of, once I do get my subscription or trial or something, I definitely want to check out. So thanks for keeping us posted.
Yeah, Silo's on my list, so yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, that is going to wrap up our show for today. We appreciate you all for listening. Come on over to the Discord and vote for some of your favorite genre shows for 2024. And we'll see you again soon.
Catch you next time.
Take care, everybody.
If you'd like to contact Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, we offer a variety of feedback options, including email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com, voicemail at 706-927-8478, Skype voicemail at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, or you can visit our website at tuningintoscifitv.com and use the SpeakPipe app or our forums. And finally, you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintosci-fi or on Facebook at facebook.com/tuningintosci-fi TV. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 666, recorded February 1st, 2025.